they'll still die. It can take 1 to 6 years, but it's not spread through white oaks. So it seems like white oaks are much better able to attack the fungus, and red oaks, unfortunately, and that's the scarlet, black oaks, red oaks, all of those. The vast majority of our trees are red oak family.
What about chestnut oaks?
Chestnut oaks are white oak.
Is it white oak?
Yeah, so it's hopefully it should be better off if it does get it. But that's why I wanted to bring that up, just so people don't know the difference. And the symptoms, of course, is really complicated, and it could be bacterial leaf scourge, it could be just dieback in general, drought. It's very difficult to find out if it actually is oak wilt. That's why it takes us a lot to actually find out that it is. We have to do DNA testing. Cornell does all of that for us. So essentially what we just want everyone to look is that your tree is fine, perfectly fine, and all of a sudden just leaves, it just wilts, just dies rapidly. So if it's, leaves are green, and we're talking like the entire tree, not just a branch here or there, the whole thing just goes. That late spring, early summer, please let us know. And there won't be any, you can't tell from the outside, there won't be any sign, any fungus disease, it just goes. Because the only thing that it produces actually is that lower left corner is just a little spore mat. It's the only thing, and that only shows up a year after the tree's been dead. So, it's a really serious disease. That's why we're just really concerned about it, because between the pine beetle attacking our pine, and then we have oak, I mean, that's our two major trees down here. And it could radically change Long Island. It's kind of depressing. So anyway, like I said, if you see it, please let us know. Big thing is, don't move firewood. We have that 50-mile regulation approved during the winter months, and if you can, try not to prune in the summer and spring. And let us know.
I don't understand. Don't fire.
What's that about?
Yeah, that's just a good thing in general. So we have a regulation. You're not allowed to move firewood within 50 miles from the source. So yeah, it's just not
take it from
right. Yeah, so like if you have firewood in your backyard, don't go up to the Adirondacks with it.
Oh, I see.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, move it around, because we found that like a lot of like emerald ash borer, it's just exacerbated by people accidentally moving things.
Because there's
They'll
things
be in the
those trees
right,
and the
yep,
logs
yep.
that you bring.
Yep, and that's how Asian logs will get a little broad here. It's just an piece of wood, and just grab. And people don't realize it. You're not looking for insects or whatever in your firewood. You accidentally bring it. So
I have a question more about the survey of our trees. Is there a way to tell how long does it? How old are some of our trees? Is there a way to tell without cutting it?
Yeah, there's an increment board.
Oh well,
true.
it would have been.
There is. It's a little, essentially just a really long screwdriver, and it takes out about like a straw diameter, and you can core into the tree, and then it pulls out a little core and you can count it. So yes, it still wounds it, but it's a very small wound, so it doesn't kill the tree. And we use that a lot for forestry because we don't want to kill it.
And how long does it take for some of the oaks that we have to, get as tall as they are?
Oh yeah, easily 100 years. Oaks are still
And they're still growing.
Yeah, oaks
all
can
that
get
time?
up to a couple hundred years old. Pine, 150, 200 is pushing it.
There's some very large trees in this village that I would venture a guess are 100,
Oh yeah,
at
easily.
least 100 years old. And in my conversation in the past, going down Van Brunt Manor Road, and what I understand about the development of the village, that this was part of the Spy Coast and the whole, this goes back to years in Washington.
Mm-hmm.
So it would be interesting to know how old some of those really big specimens are. It would be interesting.
Yeah.
What's the life cycle? Well, oaks and
Well,
maples, say these large maples, what's the life cycle?
meaning like how long the average lifespan. It's really dependent on, a hurricane can come knock it out, lightning, but ballpark, it can easily get a couple hundred years old.
So
Wow.
100 to 200 years.
I would
Yeah,
say so.
sure.
Yeah.
Would the state have any books that we could keep here on, for the use of the public? Explaining what what the trees are, how they look, and how long they last, how big
Yeah.
they get.
Sure. Yeah, I think we have something.
Yeah.
We can find out for you.
We'll talk, and maybe planning board might want to set up a library or something.
Sure. Yeah.
We need another building for that.
They're going to expand.
We can't afford it.
So what we have, there we go.
Since you work at the DEC, I have a question. Prior to living here on the North Shore, I lived on the South Shore on the bay, and the forest along the shoreline was very protected by the DEC. How protected is it up here? Are residents who live along the shoreline allowed to just randomly cut down trees?
No, the regulation is 10 foot in elevation, or that's not, I hate saying it, but it's not my department, but it's, that I remember, it's 10 foot right elevation or cliff line, I'm pretty sure, that the DEC,
Yeah,
Regulates.
I'll also
the
comment on
regulate.
that.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm curious.
Coastal areas, DEC regulates up to 300 feet
Yeah.
back
I
from
thought
the
so.
wetland edge.
Yeah.
But again, there's caveats.
Mhm.
On North Shore of Long Island, we have high bluffs, and DEC also has regulatory lines at the crest of the bluff. So they may not just go 300 feet, they may go to the very
Right, not
top
just
of the
be-
bluff.
Right, right.
The other thing is, it all depends on what kind of land use has occurred in the meantime. But anything from 300 feet back on the coast is something that should be checked.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks. Yeah, go ahead.
Do we know, can oak wilt be passed from one tree to another on the bar of a chainsaw? Like say
That-
you're performing tree work on a diseased
Right.
tree and then to a healthy
Right.
tree.
There's been no documented cases of it,
Okay.
but I would assume that probably it could happen, but that doesn't mean that.
I know some arborists might use a biocide on their
Yeah,
bar.
yeah,
to
it's probably,
ensure- I just didn't know if it was really widespread or.
yeah. As far as we know, the literature, nothing said that, but that doesn't mean that. It's probably be on the safe side and just treat it. I would say if I cut a tree that I knew had oak wilt, I would definitely.
Thank you.
Sterilize that.
And I have, like I said, I have a bunch of handouts if anyone would like, and it's my contact info if anyone has questions about trees in general.
DEC, now, we have the original study done for village trees.
Mhm.
Is there a normal progression of how we should proceed and what we should be looking
Yeah,
for in the
after,
future?
so the good thing is now you have the inventory,
Mhm.
so you can make those decisions. You can say, we need to remove these trees are fine.
Mhm.
I think the next is reimbursement grants. There are other grants, so they have inventory, management, and then replanting, so.
Replanting, okay.
Yeah.
And this is the first step in.
First step, right. So if you don't
To
know what you have,
identify
you
them.
can't manage it, you don't know, right.
Okay.
So it's more of a list of, talking about what do you want to replant with and
Mhm.
sitting there and making all the decisions. And yeah, those are more grants. So
Mhm.
One of the things that we noted, and I'll just share this with the group at large, that data that we told you about, you can sort. On the evergreens that are in the village, we came up with the most dominant evergreen is eastern white pine. Norway spruce was the next dominant, and then there was blue spruce that were planted. Very low on the list, there was one pitch pine that showed up.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that makes a difference in their susceptibility to some of these organisms.
essentially, well, with pine beetle, it's a weird thing. The foresters in Jersey told me, they said, every time you think you have it figured out, I'll throw you a curveball. Essentially, yes. I mean, the more pine you have in the area, the more chance you have of being susceptible, but I know of an arborist who lost his specimen Norway spruce in like middle of nowhere Nassau County. So it's just one of those weird things that
Okay.
because the female flies around and finds a suitable host tree, and essentially it rings a dinner bell, and then they all come in. So, there's a really, really great video on YouTube, Story of a Beetle. And it's like 20 minutes. They do a fantastic job of really good visuals to help explain it. It's very complicated. One good thing about it is it's one of the most studied beetles ever. I mean, there's so much literature. So that's why with my presentation I can talk so much more about the pine beetle. Oak willow is relatively new, especially for us. So it's gonna be one of those. We'll see what we can do.
Maybe Laura can jump in on this one too. Being that you consider we have a specimen urban forest going on here, what do you think? Should we be going into something like a tree board, or to try to help manage that? Would that be the best way to go? How do they usually
I would
do
say
that?
so, yeah. I mean, more just having people concerned about the trees.
Uh-huh.
You know,
Yeah, you have a good basis
Yeah, I'd
now
say
to
so.
spin off and do some other, make some management recommendations for your trees overall. Honestly, Norway maples are not one of my favorite, and you have a lot of them. So that's one decision I would make very quickly. But they do provide habitat.
Right,
So,
right,
every tree does have a purpose, and it does serve certain, shade and even evapotranspiration. All the other functions that a tree provides are very, very important, so you need to weigh that into balance. But you do have a good basis now to spin off and come up with, what can we do with this data now? We know we have a beautiful native community here. What can we do to ensure its longevity? And that's where I think
Yes,
sitting
yeah,
down
well,
with,
right.
With the DEC Forrester, or we can help you out with that, we'd be more than happy to do that.
But it does seem that some of the grant programs that DEC has look for something like a tree board or some
Right,
Some-
yeah, so that's a part of it.
village legislation that does.
Right,
address
because the way the
trees.
grants work, you get more points, essentially. So if you have a tree board, you get more points. Because statewide, they get thousands of these. So they have to sit there and say, okay,
More
so-
points is more money.
Well, more points means you might actually
Higher
win the grant.
quality.
Right?
Yeah, chosen.
Yeah. So it's all of those things, that do you have a tree ordinance, do you have a tree board, do you have this, do you have a management plan? Now you have a management plan, so that gives you more points towards the next grant. So it's a way that we kind of force them to do a certain way.
And it also seemed that
heard that.
with some of the planting projects, it was one could envision planting trees on private lands that are adjacent to village lands, or if it's part of a plan, you need to draw up a plan.
They just
and
changed
so
to where you can now plant up to 25 feet within private property.
Uh-huh.
Um,
So as a plan develops, the plan doesn't could cover a larger area depending on the property and the owners and so on, but it's not restricted to be within the right of way itself.
Right, they just changed that.
Yeah.
Yes, right. Because we're working, the Asian longhorn beetle it's a federal program, but Cornell Cooperative essentially got a large grant to replant, and so they're allowed to actually plant on private property. But this grant is, I think, 25 feet from within the right of way, because it's public funds, so it really should benefit the public.
Does that include removing trees as well?
I think so.
So I think if it's part of if there's a plan,
Plan.
there
If
needs
there's
to
a
be
plan, there needs to
a
be
rather
plan, right.
detailed plan that says what's going forward. And then there's then you if supported, you can do the plan.
Well, that's where we kind of hit a wall with the tree,
Right.
the whole tree
Right.
management.
And the way it works is it's
Law that we were
reimbursement.
looking at that time, which was, you know, there, property owners have their own perspective, and
Of course.
some are gonna be for something and against it. And this survey that we're talking about now is really just for public lands.
Well, it
Yeah,
does
we have-
extend a little bit.
A little
yeah,
bit now,
Still,
but I mean,
yes,
if you're
it's
talking
an
about
emphasis on-
A contagion, we're talking about species that are really, you know, under pressure, that we would really have to take a good hard look at how we would approach that, because you're really talking about property rights versus,
Oh, absolutely.
The man who took all down the street, took down all his
And that's
trees.
only if the property owner agrees with it. But before the last round of grants, it was only within the right of way
Yeah.
that it would be applicable. Now, because I think a lot of people showed real interest, like, well, I still want a tree, but that's on a case by case basis. So it's not like you're gonna wake up and there's a tree in the front.
right. Well, let me just ask you, if we want to go to the next step, which would be to apply for funding for replacement, is the process the same? We have to go the same route, starting from scratch, because the time frame for this thing was obviously a long time. So we're in the middle of dealing with
Taking all the trees down.
removing them.
Right.
It's very much an issue now about replacement, because we have taken trees down, which costs money.
Right.
So, if we got started on, which obviously we're gonna have to do right away, if we got started on it tomorrow, that money would not be something that if and when it came, it's not gonna be very soon.
Right, no, it would be, it takes a while, and then the way it works is the state reimburses the town.
Right, so it's a plan. So
Yeah,
I
right,
think
it's a
we
plan,
develop it as a plan and not necessarily.
Yeah, so this is
Okay,
all,
so
it's
we
like,
have
we will
that.
remove X trees, we'll plant so many trees, and then if the state says, okay, you're awarded the grant, then,
Right, so there may be, so Walnut Beach, we're very impressed with the Walnut Beach and the area there, and maybe the potential for making a plan that would involve working on the trees in that area. And so there might be something where over a year or two the plan could develop and the resources be identified.
Trees, runoff, beach restoration.
Right,
the,
so, but it could
wetlands.
be a plan rather than,
Well,
you know, next
No,
month
they'd
we're
rather
gonna
spend money
do
on the
this.
dock.
It has to be a plan
right.
and pursued rather than a reaction.
A question about the state funding though, if the village, let's say, is moving towards complying or putting together this plan, is there any retroactive, capital funds that can be
So,
balanced in?
yeah, I
Because I
don't,
know some grants do that, I didn't know if this grant does.
I don't think so. Mary Kramarchuk is the one to talk to, though. They kind of do it that I don't know too much about the grants, just because I'm so close with a lot of the towns that they don't want me to know too much about it. But I do know that they've made it a lot easier. Like, I think it's only, it used to be 50% match for replanting. I think it's only 25% now. So,
And Jeff, what the study that was done will help us identify the trees that are in severe need.
right.
So just because it says 117 doesn't mean they all have to come down today. We can stretch that out.
I'm with it.
Yeah.
But the issue is basically budgeting
Yeah.
a certain amount for
Yeah, of
removal of
course.
trees, but
Yeah.
we haven't really built into the budget yet to replace trees.
Right.
So if we're going, and that's what a lot of us are interested in, so if you look at it in terms of diverting money to buy trees, then obviously there's less money to
Build the dock.
huge amount of trees that we have to tend to.
Yeah.
Right. Something like that, correct.
Well, there's a,
I'm sorry, I thought you picked on me.
yes, you
She
did.
said,
go ahead.
oh yeah, I thought you did. Yeah, just a comment, because myself and Kathy are the ones who got the original grant that you
Oh, great,
are
good.
now being paid by. But anyway, I think a lot of people in this room don't understand how competitive that grant was. It took us a year and a half just to get to first base. going to all of the meetings, going to everything, learning about it, and setting everything up. We were planning on the next stage was the management part of it.
Right.
You had to get, that's why we did this one, you had to get the inventory
Exactly,
before you
right.
get the management. Now once you go to the management, it's not you're just gonna get it. This is a competitive grant. You have to really work, and it's a 50-50. The 19,500 and whatever it was we got for the original grant was a special that we got 100%, not 50-50. It was a rare thing. So when they're talking about this, they have to understand how long this is going to take. If you're lucky, 5 years down, you may have the money.
Right, but you're absolutely right. Thank you for bringing that up.